Welcome to Is It Worth Watching, a YouTube series where a hipster with absolutely no credentials tells you whether an anime or a TV show is worth watching based on the first 3 episodes. Today we're talking about Reborn is a vending machine, now I wander the dungeon. I hate my life. Reborn is a vending machine, now I wander the dungeon is a horror isekai in which the protagonist brutally gets crushed by a vending machine and in a cruel twist of fate is reborn as a vending machine in a new world. Now, some more reputable anitubers might tell you that this is a comedy, but if you think about it, it's actually a horror. If I were to casually explain why this is actually a horror anime, I'd simply say that we can only assume that in this reality, when one perishes, they are reborn as whatever killed them. What this means is, I can't wait to see the spin-off series, Reborn as a Pacemaker, now I'm stuck in some fat bitch's chest. Obviously, I'm being facetious here, so let's move on. This series is based off of a web novel that was later published as a manga, and earlier this month, Reborn as a Vending Machine finally made its anime debut, and then it fell into mediocrity when everyone forgot about it. The anime was produced by a joint effort between Studio Gokumi and Axis. Neither of these studios have produced anything of note. They don't appear to be bad studios, but they really don't stand out like Studio Bones, Trigger, or Sunrise. I don't think I've actually seen or even heard of a single anime by either of these studios. All that being said, let's actually discuss this anime. In this series, there are 2 characters. You got Boxo, he's the vending machine. He was just a regular guy in his previous life, a regular guy that apparently had an obsession with vending machines to the point where he willingly sacrifices his life in a vain attempt to save one from falling off a truck.
Snake, are you okay? Snake? Snake!
Yeah, this happens in the series. Lamis, on the other hand, is a blonde lolly who is a hunter. She finds our vending machine hero early in the first episode, where she is the first person to make some sort of meaningful contact with Boxo, as well as make a purchase from him. The first episode starts off fairly normal. The main character gets isekai like a good boy, then reborn in another world, in this case as a vending machine. Boxo meets Lamis and she takes him to the town after consuming his product. I mean, there isn't really too much I can say here without running the risk of over-explaining. What I can say is this episode does an okay job at explaining some of the world building, even if it's not to my particular liking, more on that later, as well as establishing the main characters. I would have liked to know more about who Boxo was before the events of this episode, but that could be expanded upon later. I will say that this episode feels closer to a slice of life anime than an isekai, and honestly I kinda liked it. It felt very wholesome. The second episode focused more on that wandering the dungeon aspect of the title. Boxo and Lamis get tasked with supplying soldiers on the front line. Apparently it's Funky Frog season, if you know what I mean, so the Hunters Guild gets tasked with assisting in the Frogman genocide. The action sequences are mid at best, but that doesn't seem to be the focus of the series, rather it's how Boxo reacts to the situation he's in. It appears Boxo can only stock items from the real world, so he won't be stocking things like health potions or mana potions or berserk potions that give you 20+ strength. Given that limitation, when the Frog King ambushes the party, Boxo can't pull an America and vend a handgun for Lamis. Instead, he vends a crap ton of Coke and Mentos, and they spray it in the eyes of the fat bastard. I really do appreciate the creative limitations here. Episode 3 has Boxo and Lamis returning to town to see some sort of Naga has destroyed a portion of the town. Luckily, no one was hurt. This episode returns to more of the slice of life style we saw in the first episode, with Boxo and Lamis assisting in the reconstruction of the town. We also get more development in terms of the supporting cast, as well as some world building. I have to say the most memorable part of this episode was when Boxo supplied condoms to the people of the town to prevent STDs and unwanted pregnancy. Like, that was great. And then there was a time where he was put into the bathhouse where he would supply shampoo and panties to people. You know, I always forget that over in Japan they have panty vending machines, but apparently they do, which is actually insane to me, but also pretty awesome. And finally, I just want to touch on one thing. I'm really glad that they didn't go too overboard on the fan service. I'm not a big fan of fan service in anime. It really doesn't do anything for me. Like, I'm more concerned about the story than seeing jiggle physics. So, yeah, you won't see me reviewing stuff like, what is it called? High School of the Dead, because I really don't give a shit about titties when it comes to my anime, unless I'm watching hentai. Moving on. Alright, now that I gave a synopsis of the first 3 episodes, let's run down what I liked and I disliked. I'll start off with my biggest complaint. As you all know, I'm not a huge fan of isekai. One of the things I really don't like about a lot of modern day isekai is the over-reliance on JRPG terms in lieu of storytelling. Why am I saying this? Boxu is essentially stuck in an endless game of lemonade stand, but if he goes bankrupt, he dies. The first episode spends a good portion of it explaining the management of how the vending machine functions. Boxu has a pool of points that increases as purchases are made. These points are spent to change stock, adjust prices, fix damages, as well as the daily upkeep to stay alive. All of this would be a lot more interesting if I was playing a game. But no, I'm watching an anime, so it's not really immersing me at all. Other than my personal distaste for gamified storytelling, I don't have much to complain about. I mentioned earlier that the combat segment was kind of bland. This might be a deal breaker for some, but I'm not watching this series for epic fights. I'm watching this because I wanted to make this video, and the concept of a living vending machine is funny to me. I feel like if this series tries to alternate between the slice of life and higher stake dungeon crawling aspects too much, it might lead to pacing issues, much like my script writing. As for the characters, Boxu himself is somewhat of a boring character. We can establish that he's a generally altruistic, intelligent individual, but there isn't much more we can glean from that. He's a vending machine after all. However, it's the effects Boxu has on the people around him that are the focus here. Boxu is a genuinely good person, even if the only thing he can do is make someone feel better by offering orange juice. This just breathes wholesomeness to me. But is it worth watching? While I personally found these episodes endearing, I definitely see it being a niche title that doesn't do too much differently than the billions of other isekai out there. Due to this, I'm worried that once the spectacle of the main character being a vending machine wears off, it's gonna become a wholly generic anime. And to be honest, I'm already seeing this by the 3rd episode I've watched. Thanks for watching my video, I really do appreciate it. So, what did you think of the vending machine anime? Did you even realize it released? Because apparently a lot of people didn't. And more importantly, I need you to like, subscribe, or cancel me on Twitter, because none of this shit matters anyway.